Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brilliant But Lazy. I am Alan.
I'm Josh, and we are in the new year. It's been a minute. How have you been, buddy?
It has been a minute. I've been pretty good. Things are going well for me. I have if I had my computer in my guest room, you would see my Batman Forever shrine that I have built since the last time we talked. Next time you stay in my guest room, Josh, you will see that I have all of my Batman Forever collection out in my guest room.
Fun.
So, yeah.
Fun. Can't wait.
Just bought a new piece for it today, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and I bought some the McFarlane figures yesterday, like the Build-A-Figures.
Nice.
So I just got the Riddler and Two-Face and two halves of the Nightmare Bat. So
nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
A lot of fun things going on my end. How are you? Anything new going on with you?
Yep. Been busy, but I'm about ready to move. I'm neck deep in work, packing, all that stuff. So, yeah, as you can see, I've been tearing down things in the room behind me.
Yeah.
Really only taking a break every now and then to catch the latest episode of Severance or,
Man. We'll have to do an episode on Severance when the season ends.
For sure. Severance has been killer. I've been going to some Thursday night movies just to take a break and take advantage of this theater I have less than a block away from me while I still can. So I've seen, let's see, I saw Wolfman. I talked to Josh about that. Wasn't impressed. I saw Presence for Steven Soderbergh film. I was less than impressed. And I saw The Monkey, which was actually pretty darn good for a Stephen King adaptation. It went in a different direction than the short film, but I think it did, or the short story, but I think it did the story justice. So
that's good.
I enjoyed the hell out of that. And otherwise just kind of packing, and I've been watching Severance, and then when Severance runs out, I'm like, what else should I watch? And I found Mythic Quest, which I've never watched before, but I like it. So
I haven't watched that, but I need to.
Yeah, it's like It's Always Sunny, but with nerds.
Everything I have watched on Apple TV, I've enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on my list of things to get.
They just got it, man. They got it. They got the magic, and they got more importantly, they have the money.
Yeah, that's it too.
The we don't care money, because they don't advertise anything. They just had a good movie come out this week called The Gorge that I watched. Mm-hmm. They didn't bother to put it in theaters. They really didn't bother to put out anything more than one trailer for it, because they're Apple and they don't care. So, but they have really good content. So
yeah,
highly recommend Mythic Quest. It's like Always Sunny and Silicon Valley came together. So yeah,
very
highly
cool.
recommend.
Yeah. So we're in a, I know Victims and Villains have been taking a break from a lot of things, but we're here to report on our Marvel duties as the pop culture podcast, the nerd pop culture podcast here on Victims and Villains, to talk about Captain America, Brave New World. And we will get to that. But before, we want to talk a bit about some of the trailers that we saw in front of it. Because we had a few Marvel trailers. Josh, you got the DC trailer that I wanted to see on the big screen, and I still haven't. You got to see the Superman trailer. We're going to hold off on discussing that until a later date, because we have a whole Superman episode that we've been talking about doing for months now, that we're finally going to do once you get moved in and settled. That'll be the christening of your new podcast studio.
Sounds good.
Your new fortress of solitude, if you will. But we did get a few Marvel trailers this week with since we talked last, with the Super Bowl and Captain America. We have trailers for the two other Marvel films coming out this year. We have a trailer for, which one do you want to start with? I'll let you pick.
Let's do the first one coming up, which would be Thunderbolts, right? Thunderbolts asterisk.
Yeah.
Asterisks.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a first full trailer for that. Hold up, I'm going to sneeze.
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe not. All right. Anyway, we got a Thunderbolts trailer, which is, um, yeah, the first full trailer. What did you think of the teaser trailer that came out a while back? Tone and casting and all that.
It's about what I expected tone-wise for this movie. It's very much leading into the lightheartedness and humor of Red Guardian and playing with like this team element a bit. I haven't seen the teaser trailer in months though, so I'm trying to remember. I remember they teased Bob, and there was no Bob in the new trailer to tease, even though he is there in silhouette.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they went out of their way to tease this mystery character Bob in the first trailer, and then while they silhouetted a person in the new trailer, it's clear as day that there's someone else missing from the new trailer. Thus, it's probably Bob. I mean, it's like, do you guys forget how to cut trailers anymore?
Yeah.
Imagine if they gave away the Winter Soldier in trailer 2,
I mean, we will talk a bit more about how Marvel marketing has ruined some movies in a bit, not to spoil the conversation that we're about to have. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Thunderbolts. I need to go back and revisit Black Widow because I have not seen that since 2020. But I'm excited for Thunderbolts. I enjoyed this new trailer. I waited until I was in the theaters to see it because I try to avoid trailers as much as I can outside of the movie theaters. Like if I know the Thunderbolts trailer is going to be out when I see Captain America this week, I will just wait until then. If like something like the other one we're going to talk about comes out online, I'm like, yep, I'm going to watch that because I want to see that. I want my first look. But I'm excited. I like that I like the Wheaties box approach that they're putting to the advertising for this. That
makes a good poster too.
That poster is fun. The cutout that I saw in the theater was pretty cool with the ingredients on the side. And
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it online. They have like a giant Wheaties box that they're putting in theaters. Now with more Bucky.
Yeah. I think it looks good. I mean, it's their new Guardians of the Galaxy / Suicide Squad kind of feel. I thought the second trailer was just as good, music wise, vibe wise. Hopefully they didn't. I mean, I don't know. I know the name of the character and what's going on, but I don't know the comics around the villain, and I can piece together who it is. But I'm hoping that there's still more to the movie. It seemed like they put a lot more in the second trailer, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see some of these characters come back. I recently rewatched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I'm looking forward to the return of American Patriot or whatever his name is.
U.S. Agent.
U.S. Agent, not American Patriot. Same, yeah, U.S. Agent. I'm looking forward to him coming back. I can always get more Bucky. Bucky is just the gift that keeps on giving in the Marvel universe, so I can never get enough of that. I think it's going to be good. Yelena, I like her on screen. I'm excited to have her back. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a good time. I'm hoping it's a good time. It kind of seems like some of these films are just being thrown out there by the MCU right now, and with promises of bigger, better Avengers level movies down the line. So let's hope that they still put some time and effort into this. But I'm excited for it. I think it comes out in May, right?
Yeah, it comes out. I think that's the standard Marvel weekend, which is Comic Book Day weekend. So first Friday in May. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun.
Same.
And then in July, we will be getting the Fantastic Four First Steps.
That's right. That's right. And we got a full trailer for that. I didn't see it in IMAX. Apparently, the IMAX had an extra special thing
Oh, really?
with them. Yeah, that was very Incredibles-esque, which is, of course, because they're based off the Fantastic Four anyway. But yeah, I'm loving it, man. I'm loving the aesthetic. I love the trailer. It just gave enough. It was definitely the definition of a teaser. It teased the villain. We didn't see any of the Silver Surfer, but it teased the aesthetic. It teased the tone.
It teased John Malkovich. So
yeah. And then you know what it also did. It did what Spider-Man did in Spider-Man: Homecoming. And I hope that's the case. Like it didn't go overwhelmingly Origin Tale-esque. We'll probably still see it, but it seemed like it dropped us in. And I appreciate that. I look forward to that.
Yeah, I do too. One of my favorite moments of the trailer, there, two things that stick out in my mind is I was not expecting the Thing to lean so far into the bear as it did.
Yeah,
with the cooking in the kitchen. There's a moment, but my favorite thing about this trailer is there's a moment where the Human Torch jumps off a building and is flame on and flies off. When he flies past the camera lens, you can see like dust on the lens and like little smudges on the glass of the lens as he goes by, which is such a cool detail for them to put in. Which I wasn't expecting, and I was like showing film students that I work with, like, check this out, like, look at it closely, like, see that, that's cool, and they're like, oh yeah, that is cool, and humor me. But no, there are things in like, there's not much Human Torch in there. There's not much Mr. Fantastic.
There's no Mr. Fantastic powers. Yeah.
And then there's conspiracy theories already about the Invisible Woman. So
interesting.
Have you heard about these?
I have not heard about these.
There's people online looking at the footage of in the beginning of the trailer when they're giving the tour of the Baxter Building. The way that she's walking has people suspecting that they are hiding her pregnancy in the movie and digitally altered her appearance.
I'm pulling this up here.
Yeah.
So that's like literally the first thing in the trailer.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Elevator's opening. They're giving the... I could see it. I could kind of see it. Interesting.
So that could hit.
If not, that's just a very rigid, interesting way to walk. If not, but yeah.
It's not one to speculate about that on the internet, even if it is a fictional character. But I'm excited for this movie. I think I'm always down for a Michael Giacchino score. I think what we had in this trailer is his score because they've been playing that Fantastic Four since Comic-Con. I'm excited to hear that. I love the 60s aesthetic of the film and the look of everything. This is what I've wanted from a Fantastic Four movie, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I love how we've got another comic book related mustache gate going on because people have been talking about the lack of Mr. Fantastic's powers, but the abundance of his mustache, which is not something you normally see with Mr. Fantastic. So but that's Pedro, and maybe Pedro has it in his contract that he needs facial hair, but I don't know.
I mean, if Cesar Romero can get away with it as the Joker in the 60s, if we're doing Mr. Fantastic in the 60s, let him keep the mustache.
All I know is he's just been on fire lately. I saw him, some recent videos of him either at the Grammys or at the SNL thing or something, and he was just moving. Like, he is just out there living his life, and
Oh yeah.
all power to you. I'm excited for him. They didn't show any of the Silver Surfer. And Julia Garner, I am a huge fan of. I think she's fantastic. I thought she was wasted, beyond wasted in the Wolfman movie, but I'm glad to see that she's still she's getting more roles and she's getting out there, and so I will be interested to see. I mean, she's just so lively. If you've ever seen what's the show she was in with Jason Bateman? Ozark. She's so lively in that show. I mean, she's got a temper. She's got vocals. She'll get up in your face and scream you. So is she going to be rigid and voiceless in this? I don't know how she's going to be, but I'm intrigued to see her.
I'm excited to see Galactus not in cloud form for once. I have recently rewatched Rise of the Silver Surfer, and that still bugs me. But that
was a time where Marvel villains were clouds.
We might have to revisit that before July. Revisit those Fantastic Four films, and maybe even the one from the 90s that no one ever saw because it was never actually released.
I recently downloaded that to watch it because I do want to watch it. It's on my TV now. And I said that wrong. Not Marvel villains were clouds, but space comic book villains were clouds, because we had the Fantastic Four one, and then we had Green Lantern's cloud monster. So yeah, I'm excited. I agree with you. I thought the Thing looked great. I see some people dogging on the Thing. I thought it looked good. I thought it was interesting that they really don't seem to hide E-Bomb's voice at all. No. It just sounds like him, with some little you can hear his rocks moving around. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I think this has a possibility to be great. However, the placement in the summer is insane. It's in July, and they got Fantastic Four, Mission Impossible 7, and Jurassic Park, whatever number this is, in the same month. It's insane. Superman? I think. And Superman. Oh, wait, It's not Mission Impossible. It's Superman. Mission Impossible isn't in July. So I think whichever one is first gets 2 weeks, and then they're just the next one and the next one back to back. So that's going to be an insane July, and I'm shocked with this days and age of let's move things around to capitalize on possible profit. I'm shocked we're getting those 3 films in the same month.
I'll call it now. I think Fantastic Four will move to November.
Oh God, I hope not. But I wouldn't be surprised, because that seems crazy close to Thunderbolts.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's super close to Thunderbolts, and I don't think, I don't know if Disney has anything in the third and fourth quarter that's going to make them lots of money by that point. So,
well, we'll see. Well, either way, I'm excited for both, and I saw both of those in the theater, and then I saw Marvel's latest thing, and so let's get into what we have. Let's get into the first part of this year with the first Marvel movie in a minute. They kind of took some time, and then I'm trying to think the last Marvel movie that wasn't Sony.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Right, and that kind of feels like a. Yeah, I mean, I get it was. What's the last one before that one?
The Marvels, I believe.
Yeah, so it feels way back when you don't. Yes, Deadpool is now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but that still feels like a special one, because it's another it's a Fox property coming over. But I feel like it's been a minute, and we got this. It's definitely been a minute since Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the show.
Which I also rewatched before Captain America: Brave New World.
Yeah, so. And that was I think the second entry in or the
Yeah.
first entry, the
I
second
think
entry after WandaVision.
it was supposed to be the first, but because of COVID delays, it got pushed back to being the second Marvel show on Disney
Yeah,
Plus. So
yeah. And I think a lot of people didn't like it. I liked it for the most part, and I think going back, it's one of the stronger Marvel or Disney Plus entries in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in terms of story. It was ravaged by rewrites because of COVID and stuff like that,
yeah,
but I
it
still liked it.
it definitely works better in a binge model. Like
Mm,
the week to week really hurt that show audience wise. I think like reception wise, watching
yeah.
it in like in chunks, like 2 or 3 episodes here, 2 or 3 episodes there. It works a lot better than it did watching it week to week. But yeah, so this is the follow up to that. This is the fourth
Right.
entry into the Captain America franchise. But I'm going to say this is the third Captain America film that is an Avengers 2 point or an Avengers sequel, because I don't really count Civil War as a Captain America film. That's an Avengers film.
Yeah.
But this is the first entry since in 11 years that's not directed by the Russo brothers.
Correct. And it's a lot of firsts. It's also the
Yeah.
first how would you say this? It's the first new Avenger movie, or like the mantle has switched hands.
Yeah.
Like if we got another Black Widow movie with Yelena, that would be an example. If we got a a new Iron Man, that would be an example. This is the first of those type of
It's
movies.
the first passing the torch, passing the title. Because we've gotten hints of it with Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, but this is the first time where the shield has been handed to Sam Wilson. He is now Captain America.
Right.
And yeah,
What's your initial thoughts? What's your spoiler free thoughts on the movie as a whole?
My spoiler free thoughts is I went in to this with very low expectations, because try as I might, I saw a lot of negativity towards this movie online. Tried to avoid it. It was like, okay, people aren't liking this movie. Let's go in and see why. I enjoyed it. I thought it was. I don't know if my expectations were just so low that I really enjoyed it, but I thought this was a great film to continue this franchise. I feel like it did what Winter Soldier did well. It was very politically driven, a political thriller. I liked what they did with the president, with Thunderbolt Ross. I thought Sam was a great taking the mantle of Captain America. He did a great job with that responsibility and how he handled it. He's still making the adjustment to being Captain America. I really enjoyed this film. I think there are flaws with it, and I will talk at length about them, but I don't think any of that has to do with the film itself. I think a lot of that has to do with how Disney and Marvel are marketing their stuff. But I think this film works way better than it should, and it has its issues, but I was very pleased with this movie.
Yeah, I did not think it was a bad film at all. I thought it was very watchable. I think Anthony Mackie is he's great. I think he's just a very likable actor, and he makes Sam Wilson very likable. Harrison Ford, they kind of force fed you a little bit, that he's Thaddeus Ross. They really wanted to bring that home, but I think they did. I think he did the role fine. I think he. I know he's got this reputation lately of being this, no F's given attitude, but when he commits to a role, he commits. And I thought he gave a lot to this role. I thought he had more energy in this than he did in the last Indiana Jones movie. So yeah. I appreciated what he gave to the movie. Danny Ramirez came back for Joaquin Torres, aka the new Falcon. We also had Isaiah Bradley back, played by Carl Lumbly from Alias, who I've always loved. I like seeing more of him. I thought the trailers spoiled a lot, but there were things that weren't in the trailer. For some reason, the trades spoiled a cameo a week before the movie came out,
Oh,
just like blatantly spoiled it. And I was like, why would you do that? I mean, like a full week before the movie came out. But we'll talk about that cameo later. But yeah, I thought for the most part it looked fine. I thought the story was interesting. They definitely coated it with a sheen of spy thriller that kind of felt like Winter Soldier, or some of the Jack Ryan movies that Harrison Ford was used to be a part of and stuff like that. They did things to add to that aesthetic, like this was the first Marvel movie that didn't have the traditional Marvel logo at the beginning. Instead, it had this kind of redacted spy-esque Marvel Studios Presents thing on the screen, which was interesting. But yeah, for the most part, I liked it. I think when the credits ran, and this isn't a spoiler, when the credits ran and it said that the screenplay was written by 5 people and the story was written by 3 other people, I nodded in agreement with that, because I definitely felt like that was the case. It definitely felt like a mess at
yeah.
certain parts. And we could have gone in this direction, but we went in this direction, but we went in this direction thing. It felt like certain things were added on. They did have massive reshoots on this film.
Yeah.
So I felt that in the movie. Did that mean the movie was trash because of it? Not necessarily. I think it was a perfectly watchable film. Maybe not the best film, but it definitely not the worst Marvel film we've gotten. And I was happy to see where these characters have gone from where we saw them last.
Yeah, those reshoots. This was after Marvel had. This movie suffered a bit. This movie was supposed to come out back in like August, September, because the Happy Meal toys were out.
Right.
They couldn't change those deals with McDonald's, so the toys came out months ago when the
Yeah.
movie was supposed to come out. But they were undergoing reshoots. They added Giancarlo Esposito to the film, replacing other characters, and that was around the time where Marvel was like changing things up. Around the time where they rewrote all of Daredevil Born Again. They looked back at this film and like, okay, we need to streamline things. We need to change things up. I think part of that was because of the Jonathan Major stuff. Like, we need to start changing things up a bit. We need to make this more streamlined, because they could tell things weren't working out the way they wanted them to. And this film suffers from that. Like, the reshoots are a part of that. This isn't the first film that's gone through reshoots with Marvel, like extensive reshoots. I think you had the same thing on Ant-Man. You had the same Ant-Man Quantumania. I think to an extent you had that on the Marvels as well. But I think they did a decent job of putting the puzzle pieces back together from what they had and what they redid. And I think Giancarlo Esposito, like, the way Sidewinder fits into this movie, you can kind of take him out of it and like, oh yeah, something else was there to begin with. Like,
Yeah.
But I think they did a decent job of at least making a coherent film.
Yeah, I mean the film works. It makes sense. I wasn't like, wait, what? I did notice things that I was like, interesting that you kept that in there. But at the end of the day, it's not that big of a film. It's a very kind of a contained thing, but it was an interesting plot point politically around Thaddeus Ross and what he was doing with other nations, and the way they tied other stories into this. It's not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but the way they had callbacks back to the Eternals, with the Eternal out there in the Indian Ocean. They don't really talk about the plot of Eternals, just the fact that there is a giant thing in the ocean. But I like that kind of stuff. I like spy thrillers. This isn't a spy thriller, but it had tonal
Yeah.
choices to that. Um, there was there was some green screen things in here that was probably from the reshoots that
Yeah.
made me think that certain characters never actually shared a scene together, and some of those are very much more apparent than others. You know, if you're not a Snyder fan, fine, all power to you, but you got to give him this: when he needs to film something in his driveway and get it into a movie, you will not notice unless he tells you. He is the master of DIY green screening, and you'll never know. And I
Yeah.
thought there were scenes in this that was like, yep, that was, they filmed that later, and then they tried to make it look decent for the movie, but it's kind of glaring.
Yeah.
Again, that didn't make me think that the film was terrible, and I'm not being an MCU apologist. I enjoyed this film, and I've walked out of films recently that I was just livid from. So I wasn't livid with this, and it probably also has to do with me, like you, going in with very little expectations.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I'd rather be, surprised that it was a watchable, decent film, instead of angry that it wasn't an Oscar-worthy top 5 Marvel film.
I want to get into spoilers with this because I want to talk about my biggest problem with this movie. And I can't really do that without getting into spoilers.
Okay, you want to do the ratings first?
Yeah, let's do our ratings.
Okay. I would give on our scale. See, I need to think these out before we we actually start filming. I would give this.
While you think,
Yeah.
For the viewers and listeners at home, our scale here on Brilliant but Lazy is brilliant or lazy, or somewhere in the middle. So how do you rank Captain America: Brave New World?
I would say brilliant, but brilliant's a strong word, but I think it's more positive than lazy. But
Nice.
I thought that work was put into this. I liked the progression of certain story elements, and some things really did hit home that I appreciated. But there was some technical errors and some writing errors that maybe kept it from getting full brilliant for me.
Okay, I'm right there with you. Brilliant, but there's a lot of things that work in this film. I think there's a alternate. Like I have an idea that presents this film in a different light that I think makes this film much more enjoyable and much more exciting than what we got, which I will talk about here shortly. But yeah, I agree. This is a very, very much a brilliant. But I think everyone here in the cast is doing a great job. I think Anthony Mackie nails it. I think Harrison Ford stepping in as Thaddeus Ross is great. And I like that they're addressing things that have happened in other films that are not Captain America adjacent. Like it's not dealing with the Bucky of it all or the snap. It's dealing with stuff that happened in the Eternals that that the internet's been upset about. Like, what about the guy sticking out of the ocean? Like, no, we're gonna deal with that now and what the real world consequences of that are. But yeah, I think this film was much, much better than I expected it to be. So I also gave it a brilliant but. And with that, we are going to get into spoilers. And the first thing I will say is, I want to ask you a question. Do you think this film would have been better if you didn't know Red Hulk was in it?
I mean, maybe. I think the way that the film really waits until the last moment to give it to you, but spent the majority of their advertising on it. It was great when it was there, but you definitely walked away wanting more.
Yeah.
And so maybe had it teased it a little less. Maybe have it not shown it to you, but given you the implication that that's what's coming or something. I don't know. I don't know how you would advertise the movie without it, though. I
don't know either, because they the film itself does such a great job of building up this mystery of what's going on with Thaddeus Ross.
Yeah.
And if you know comics, you can put it together. Like he's going to become Red Hulk. And I think since they introduced Thaddeus Ross back in Incredible Hulk, that was everyone's like, when are they going to do Red Hulk? Are they going to do Red Hulk? The film teases this mystery with him the whole time, and you get more and more as the film goes on. And I wasn't expecting him not to know about turning into Red Hulk. I thought it was something that he was trying to suppress, like Banner would, like with those pills. So I was surprised that it was kind of just the leader, Samuel Stearns, like doing that to him himself. Like he tricked him into it, which is surprising. I don't know how you market this movie without Red Hulk. Because there isn't really another bad guy in the movie that you can, because they hide Samuel Stearns so much in this, and they showcase Sidewinder a lot. And there's not really like that big bad that you can hide, like show in this without hiding it. Like, I wish that Red Hulk wasn't as big of the marketing as he was.
So not only does this film touch back to Eternals, but it also goes all the way back to 2008 and is a pseudo sequel for that, for the Incredible Hulk. And in that, while the trailers showed a lot of Red Hulk, they did not show that much. They showed some of Sidewinder, which I believe was added way late in the game. I think that was more than confirmed. And then they showed Samuel Stearns, who is continuing his character from the Incredible Hulk, and they hid that. And I think had you done the reverse and had you sold Samuel Stearns as the villain and hid Red Hulk from the marketing, people might not have been as excited for that, because they, for some of the technical issues that they had in this film, Red Hulk looked pretty damn good. They clearly spent the budget on that. They spent no budget on making Tim Blake Nelson look good when he wasn't in the dark. When he was in the dark and you just saw a silhouette with his glowing green eyes, I thought that was cool. As soon as they shined a light on him, this was DIY, a dollar store Halloween costume.
He looked like what it reminded me of. I've never seen this movie, but he looked like Doctor Doom and Van Forstic.
I think Van Forstic looked better than this. Yeah. I thought he looked bad and rubbery and stupid.
I think that look could have worked if they had given him the bigger head. Like, I think that's all I wanted was the bigger head. But
or just put a little more money into it. I mean, and then you could tell that they didn't even trust it, because they kept on either filming him in the dark or filming him as the who is the bomb guy, the male bomb guy in real life. The Unabomber. They dressed him up as the Unabomber for half the film as well. So it was like, even they knew he didn't look great. So they kept on hiding him in the dark or in a Unabomber outfit. And so I don't fault them, because without the Red Hulk, I don't know how you would have sold this film without massively lying about the tone. You could have really gotten a really good spy theme, and which they kind of had in the trailer, but still, I don't think you could have sold this film without the Red Hulk in the trailers by using the other villains, which is sad. But yeah, it definitely discredited the mystery around him, because you're just waiting the whole movie for him to show up.
I am just excited. Like, I'm more excited for generations from now when kids sit down and watch all the MCU movies.
Sure, for people that don't watch the trailers.
People who don't watch the trailers, just sit down, like, watch everything through. Like, the Hulk reveals are the best, because you have the Red Hulk in this, and I think if you go into Thor Ragnarok not knowing that Hulk is in it, it's a completely different movie. Like I feel like both of those instances, like I just wish I lived in a world where I was blind to it all. I know who the main guy is. I don't need to know anything else. Don't tell me who's playing Doctor Doom. I don't want to know. Like, just give me the surprises. Like, let me be surprised again. And Marvel has done an okay job with some of that recently. But then you have the press leaking cameos in this. Which cameo did you hear was leaked a week before?
So Liv Tyler was leaked
Okay.
over a week before the premiere, and it was just like, I wasn't even looking. I don't look for leaks. I literally just opened Google, and on the Google homepage, it was like, why the director talks about why he thought bringing back Liv Tyler was important, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You know, and then once again, that was announced early and then held off till the very end. I wasn't even surprised by it, because not only was it telegraphed that she would show up at the end, but the trades literally spoiled it. I mean, they literally spoiled the second to last scene of the movie. That's crazy. I don't know why they do that.
I had a feeling she was going to show up in this. I also had heard rumors of Bruce Banner showing up in this. I don't think you needed him in this at all, but yeah, I had a feeling she would show up. I thought they spoiled another cameo for you, because I was pleasantly surprised when we're in spoilers now, so I was pleasantly surprised when Bucky showed up. Like, I was not expecting Sebastian Stan in this at all.
Well, he needed to be there. They shared a whole show together, even if it was just then. It's very confusing to see how he looks and to see how he looks in that scene, how he talks in that scene, and to hear that he's running for Congress when I just saw a trailer of him looking like, shit, washing his arm in a small apartment dishwasher and running this ragtag group of killers. So is Thunderbolts before this movie or after this? Does he lose, and he loses that bad that he's washing his arm in a dishwasher? Like, I want to know how we get from this to that.
I want to know if that's how Sam washes his suit. Like, is this vibranium dishwasher safe? Like,
I don't know. Clearly, he has a better setup than Bucky, though. Does Bucky continues to just get the shit end of the stick for sure. But he looked clean and healthy in his cameo in this, and I liked the words that he gave. Again, their relationship continues to be the strong point of this story. Even if it wasn't a big part of the movie. I really missed William Hurt in this film. I thought Harrison Ford was great. I'm glad they gave us one flashback scene with him, even if it was just talked over, but with him and a mustache to kind of bring home that that's who he was. I thought if they were going to bring Liv Tyler back, they could have done other things to make it connect than him just saying, when this happened, remember when this happened, and kind of force that recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
One time I was in a bar and in walks Tony Stark. I miss William Hurt in this, and it's a shame that he was unable to. Like, obviously, Marvel had plans for this character. It took them 18 years to get there. And
that man worked up until his death. I mean, he was a worker.
He was in Black Widow, and even then, people were like, "He's not looking well."
Right.
And I think
he was great. I still don't know if that was because he was ill or if that was for the character, because you do see in this film that he says he was dying. So I still don't know if the way he looked in Black Widow was a reflection of real life or a reflection of where his character was heading. Do you? Do you know if that's?
I don't know for sure, and I don't want to speculate on that.
Well,
I think it's interesting seeing Harrison Ford's career of the last 10 years, because a lot of it has been, I'm going to revisit this character that I played 20, 30 years ago.
Hmm.
But the last few years have been, you know what, I'm going to do something new. And I think when he does something new, I like it more than him revisiting Han Solo or Deckard or Indiana Jones. I like him in this, and I think he is one of the best parts of the show. Shrinking. Going back to our conversation about Apple TV Plus,
Mm.
he's doing some really interesting things late in his career, and I think one of the best things about casting him in this movie is getting to see him on the press tour, not giving a fuck. Uh, because he
Yeah.
doesn't like, I saw an interview where somebody was asking him, does it feel ridiculous about like when you're acting out as the Red Hulk and having to do all these exaggerated gestures and stuff? And he's just like, that's what the money's for. Like,
Yeah.
hate to break the illusion, but that's why they pay me the big bucks. And it's like,
I mean,
yeah,
that's just his personality.
it
And
is.
sometimes that makes me smile. Sometimes that's just like, all right, I get it. He just
Yeah.
doesn't give a fuck anymore. But I was pleasantly surprised that he gave to this. He gave to this character. You know, he was acting. Sometimes in his Star Wars return, I felt like he was the most tired person up there. You know, I did like him in Blade Runner 2049 or 2042 or whatever it was, even though he was just in jeans and a t-shirt that whole film. But I did like what he gave to that role. But, you know, he was acting in this, and he did give it his all,
Yeah.
even if this might be the only time he's in the MCU. I don't know if he's going to be going forward or not. They could easily bring him back later, but what he gave to the film I thought was great. I think they just could have built it better. If you know, if we're gonna bring Liv Tyler, bring her in a little earlier. If we're gonna bring flashbacks of the Incredible Hulk, I would have much rather seen Tim Roth in this movie than in She-Hulk. I think they could have had maybe he didn't need to be Abomination in this film, but they could have had some conversations that would have been
Yeah.
interesting, you know, and that would have bridged the gap a little bit.
Yeah.
But but I thought he was great. Again, I'm not knocking the film. He is not the weak part of the film for me at all. So that was impressive because I really wondered how that was gonna go down.
Yeah. No, I think they did a good job of that. So,
In terms of the actual plot, I thought the plot was interesting. You know, they've announced adamantium is what this thing in the ocean is made out of, and there's kind of a trade war or a war to get the materials on the brink of happening, and we are partnering with Japan and India and who was the other one? France,
yeah.
I think, to divvy it up. I thought those choices were interesting of all the countries that could have been involved in this film, but I did like that and that setup. It really when the story was about that, it felt like a worldwide thing. When the story was around Sidewinder and Samuel Stearns, it felt like a different film. It felt
Yeah.
very small in scale, and so it kept on going back to these bigger plot points and these smaller things. But for the most part, I thought it was an intriguing plot that I
Yeah.
didn't necessarily know where it was going to go. Honestly,
Yeah. I didn't know either because I wasn't sure where we were going to get Red Hulk. I really thought we were going to get it on that battleship in the Indian Ocean.
yeah.
But I really like the elements of like war games and Top Gun that we got in that
Hmm.
like at the beginning of the third act. Like it was very like Falcon going down. I was like, oh man, like Goose, no, like it gave me Top Gun flashbacks a bit.
It gave me Civil War flashbacks
Yeah,
with Rhodey going down. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm like that popped in my head too, like Sam's guilt over it. Like, I was like, I wonder if that's playing into it too. Like, and then when like that was the perfect time for Bucky to show up. Like that, I think that might be one of the best timed cameos in these MCU films ever. But no, the plots do like they do an interesting job of splitting the film between Thaddeus Ross and Sam Wilson. Like there are two different storylines going on, and then they converge throughout the film, but they're like very adjacent to each other, and there are two different movies going on here.
Yeah, again, I like Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson. I think he does wonders for that role. I think the way they write him is great. I think his inner conflict with whether or not he should have taken the serum is a good storyline for him. I think they should have probably put him in better scenarios if they're going to give him his own film, because this was a tweet from the Critical Drinker that I do agree with. Even though I like the film, I do agree with this. He says, at one point in Captain America 4, Samuel Wilson uses Ant-Man's helmet, Steve Rogers' shield, and Falcon's wings coated with Black Panther's vibranium to fight a Hulk. And I think that's a perfect metaphor for how laughably cobbled together this film is. And I did feel at times that even though he had all that tech, it came off as he was a C-level hero, with not a lot going for him. Had they put him up against other elements, then it might have been like, all right, he's holding his own type thing. But I did feel like, man, he's got all this tech, but because he doesn't have that super serum, if this is the movie that's supposed to solidify him as Captain America, I'm struggling to see him really fill that role,
I think for me, this film does a good job of solidifying. I think part of his big conflict in this is, should I be the one to assemble the new Avengers? Like, Ross wants the Avengers back. Should it be me leading that front? And I think what's interesting about like cobbling all of it together, sure. I see what they're talking about there, but what's interesting to me is how he ends up talking down Red Hulk. Like, he's not fighting Red Hulk at the White House to like knock him out there. He's like, I need to get him to, like, he looks at it very strategically. He's like, we need to get him away from here, get him away from people, clear this park. I'm taking him there and gonna talk him down. He looks at it like he uses his intellect more than he does his brawn and his tech. Like, it's not the vibranium suit or the shield that gets Ross to stand down. It's him talking to him. And I think at the end of, like, we've seen what happens when you give the shield to someone and give them the serum, and what happens in that scenario when that person isn't Steve Rogers. I think the reason Steve Rogers chose Sam to take on the mantle of Captain America is not because of who he is with his abilities, but it's who he is as a person. And I think this film does a good job of solidifying him as the Captain America going forward into the MCU from this point on.
I just think they need to power him up a little bit more. I don't know if he ever gets the serum in the comics or if they're ever planning on giving him the serum. But if they don't, from a moral standpoint, he is Captain America. Yeah. From a power standpoint, I think there's still a little to be desired. But the moral stuff in this film with him is great. Him and Isaiah Bradley's storyline continued was great. I cringed a little bit when they reintroduced Isaiah Bradley because you didn't have his grandkid or whatever, that other kid that was kind of helping him out. He's not in this film. He's basically replaced by Joaquin Torres as the younger guy that talks a lot. And when he gets introduced to to Isaiah Bradley, having just watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, when Bucky introduces Sam to Isaiah for the first time, and he's like, where have you been? What have you been doing? And he's like, I'm not going to talk about it. They put me jail for 30 years. It
Yeah.
was a very emotional scene. And then we have that scene repeated with Walking Torres, and instead it's a joke. They put me in jail for 30 years and tortured me. That's why, and it was almost said in a joke form. And I was like, oh God, that takes away. But then the rest of Isaiah Bradley's story in this had more weight to it. And the
Yeah.
fact that he's under some mind control. He's being framed for trying to assassinate the president. He's saying, I can't go back there. I'll die in there. I should have just stayed home. That all had weight.
Yeah.
And Carl Lumbly knows how to add that emotion to it. And I was like, this is good. This is great.
So looking back to like 2019, before Disney Plus launched and they announced all these shows going to Disney Plus, Kevin Feige went on the record saying, you don't need to watch the Disney Plus shows to understand what's going on in the shows. Do you think that, like, had you not seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, do you think you would feel the way you do about this film?
Oh no, this film very much depends on that. I just think that there could have been a better way to play catch up than making a joke out of it. Same way we had similar conversations with Madness, Doctor Strange, and WandaVision and stuff like that. Yeah, that whole thing, that idea that they could be separated never really worked out. But
I think it definitely adds more weight to the Isaiah Bradley stuff. I think if you hadn't seen the show, you could still you can still enjoy the film. You just there wouldn't be as much weight to the Isaiah Bradley stuff. And I think that's part of the reason I enjoyed it so much, because of that weight and like the drama it adds for Sam. So
yeah. And then there's another character we haven't talked about yet that I do want to talk about, but especially in regards to Isaiah Bradley, with how they ended Falcon and the Winter Soldier by giving him his own memorial and recognizing who he was, and finally kind of and now he's being invited to the White House alongside Captain America. So he is back. The nation is starting to recognize him. Or as quickly as they throw him aside, that was my only kind of issue with how they did Ross in this film, because he makes some diabolical choices in this film that, he knew that Isaiah Bradley didn't try to kill him, but he threw him in a hole. He threw him in a hole anyway. He knew a lot of these things. While it might not have been his plan, he knew why they were happening. And maybe he had the guise of, I'm a president now, so I've got to make things from that standpoint. But he did make choices that made him a bad person. And I wondered if that was the right choice to do that for his character, because in his previous things, sure, he was the antagonist in The Incredible Hulk, and sure, he was the guy that bucked up against the Avengers in previous films, but I never really considered him a villain. And he made very selfish, very wrong choices in this film that made me not like him. And made me were like, yeah, he deserves to be in the raft, not just for turning into the Red Hulk, but for some of the selfish choices that he made.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is him protecting himself from the Stern stuff. Some of it is him trying to protect this adamantium treaty. Yeah, he's definitely a flawed character, and I think you're right in saying that he messed up on some of the choices he made in the film. So.
Yeah. What'd you think of his head of security? Ruth Bat Syrup, whatever her name is.
I feel like they took a character from the comics that they didn't want controversy around and watered it down a lot. Like, oh hey, she's a former widow, and to try to avoid the Israeli side of things. I know there's
so she is a comic book character.
She is a comic book character.
I don't know.
Sabra.
Okay.
With Israeli military ties. So they're trying to distance themselves from that. And I feel like a lot of that was changed in post and in reshoots. So there's not much there. The biggest thing I was like, wow, she's short.
She's short. She, so they had the Israeli line in there, and I think I remember that like as almost like a controversy that never really kicked off a few months back. I remember when people brought it up, and I was like, and then it never really went anywhere, which I'm fine with. I don't care. But the aside from, there were choices where like his head of security and then whatever that other girl was, Leela Taylor. Yeah, I don't know what role he was, what role she was, but there was like a choice to make all these really important roles to be women, and I was like, wow, that does not reflect the current administration. If you were a woman in power before certain people came into the White House, you are not anymore. The first. What was it? What was her rank? General or something of the National Guard that was female. She was immediately let go, which was kind of historic. I couldn't help but think of that. But aside from the political angles, I couldn't really. She had a superhero suit at some point in this film under her jacket, like it had armor, and I was like, what is that from? Like, was that from a scene that was cut? Because she's walking around in like a suit jacket or a zip-up jacket with some type of armor top on underneath it. You can see the metal, and you can see the design that looks like a superhero design.
I've seen
and I'm like, what is that?
I've seen photos of that. I think they cut it because of the controversy and with reshoots. So,
well, they didn't cut it enough because there is a scene with her walking around in it, and I was like, what is she wearing that for?
It's very much Tyrese's metal arm in Morbius. That makes a brief cameo.
That's right. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
So she felt just kind of thrown in there. I didn't get it. And yeah, I'm all about putting in actors where they can act, but I guarantee you, in no real world would a tiny, 98-pound, 4'2" woman be the head of security for the White House. It just doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And if they were going to be like, she's that because she's a former widow, well, then give us some more widow stuff, because. We didn't get a lot.
You almost could have made those two characters one character and gotten away with it.
Kind of felt like they were at times, but they weren't.
Yeah.
So yeah, there again, it's easy to find things to down the film. There was other things. Sometimes the shield mechanics didn't really work out. There was like a hallway fight where Sam threw the shield and it seemed to just bounce off the walls and come back, but not actually hit anybody. And I was like, what was the point of that? It was, but for the most part, the action was good. I think the jet scene was great, and the Hulk scene was great. And the one-on-one battle with Sidewinder, it was very much the one-on-one battle with Bucky in the street. I mean, but it still looked good, So, for the most part, I enjoyed this. I think there were flaws. I think it definitely felt mishmashed at times, but I don't feel like it was a bad film.
No, I enjoyed it. I'm excited to see more. Of the three films that are coming out this year, this is the one I was least excited for, but I was pleasantly surprised. So I'm hoping that the other two don't disappoint.
Yeah, I wish we had a better tease at the end. It seems like we had all the teases in the trailers, but that post-credit scene, I was like, why did I sit through the credits for this?
That was so that post-credit scene was like, hey, I know there's something else coming. Okay, what? I don't know. Somebody who's either
other worlds,
somebody who's blue, somebody who wears a lot of green. I don't know. They're still writing it. Tune in next year. Like they did. It felt like they didn't know what was going to happen at that point. Like, hey, tease multiverse. Like tease that.
Right. And I was like, you've been teasing multiverse for the last 5 years. Like, we know about the multiverse. We've watched all your previous films.
We know, Ant-Man knows, Spider-Man knows, and Doctor Strange know, but like Captain America doesn't know.
I guess.
So bringing it down to that level of hero, like making sure that the leader of the Avengers is aware that there's a multiversal threat. Like that's I'll take that. Like, at least making him aware that, okay, we got to get this team together quick. What was the name of that spider guy? What was it? I'm blanking. What was it?
Spider guy? What? What are you talking about?
That was Sam Wilson forgetting.
Oh, yeah. Right. Right. That's,
Sorry.
duh. Yeah, because I can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish they would go back to the age where the post-credit scene was something worth sticking around for. You know, like, if you're gonna do like a joke scene, I feel like that is better, like, thrown in the middle of the credits to kind of give you something to and get through the credits, because the credits are always long. But if you're gonna do it remember the days of the straight up trailer for the Avengers that played in the post-credit scene? What was that for? Was that Thor?
Captain America.
Is that Captain America? That was, because that's how it ended. That's right.
I think
those were the days, man.
The last time we got a trailer in the post credits was No Way Home. They showed a trailer for Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, that's right. And I don't necessarily need a trailer, but if you're gonna make people wait, like, put something monumental. And you're the MCU. Some people don't like it that you have to put in something that teases the next film, and that's fine. But that's the spot to do it.
Yeah.
That's the spot to really be like, hey, guys, come back in 2 months. We got another film, Thunderbolt's coming. Like, I could have seen a post-credit scene with Bucky. Even if they don't show how he gets to that point, but be like, wait, we just saw him in a suit. Why does he look like shit? About to die in the street.
I just had the thought. It's weird to think that Sebastian Stan's the only actor to appear in all 4 Captain America films.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Man, his character over these films just continues to give. I love his character, and I did like this film, and I did like Incredible Hulk back in 2008.
Yeah.
So even if the makeup on Tim Blake Nelson was lackluster, when that came out, I was like, okay, I liked it.
As lacking as it was, and as disappointing as it was, I will give them props for doing makeup and not just making him CGI. I will give him credit for that.
I give credit more to the writing and to the balls of them to connect it back to that, because that is not the last time we saw Ross, and we could have done any other things with Ross. Mm-hmm. Instead, we chose to go all the way back to that.
So one more thing before we wrap this up, I have to ask, because you've become the popcorn bucket guy. Did you get the popcorn bucket for this?
Yes, and it's in my car. There's several different popcorn buckets. I got one with the Red Hulk figure holding a popcorn bucket. Okay. There was some really neat tin can ones. There was a collapsible shield.
Yeah.
Did you get something?
I did not.
Oh, and there was a really cool threaded cup, and I got that cup as well.
Yeah. I got this cup.
Yeah, that's the cup. That's a good looking cup.
This is a nice cup. Did yours come with another cup to put the drink in?
No, but I asked for one.
Okay. They gave me 2 cups. So okay, cool. 2 drinks for the price of 2 drinks.
Yeah.
The AMC that I went to did not get their popcorn buckets in before Thursday night. So I did not have the option of getting the cool collapsible shield popcorn bucket.
I heard that was not that great, though, and really small and really fragile. I went to a Marcus Theater, so they didn't have that one. They had some really nice tin buckets that I would have been happy to get if they didn't have the cool-looking Red Hulk holding a thing, and it's like a figurine base type thing, so it'll look good on the shelf.
Cool.
Oh, I had one other question for you. Liv
Yeah.
Tyler.
Yes.
Liv Tyler finally does make an appearance in The Raft.
Yes.
Did she look weird to you? Like, some people thinks it's a filter. Some people thinks it's a deep fake. I know she's aged over time, but I saw her on the red carpet. I mean, she looks like Liv Tyler. She looked weird in that scene. Like something was going on with her face. I don't know. When I heard it was a possible deep fake, I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. It's not.
I didn't notice anything. If anything, if I saw anything, I thought maybe it was just the glass of his, because we only see her through his cell. I thought it was just like the glare or reflection on the glass. It didn't look that weird to me in my theater. So,
well, maybe that was the case. I thought it looked weird, and I saw other people saying the same thing. I know she did film it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a deep fake, but it just looked weird. And again, why they waited to the last second to put her in the movie, I don't get. But it is fun seeing what number is this? What number MCU film is this? Do we know?
Oh, we're in the 20s at this point.
Is the what film in the MCU? The 35th film. Yeah, 35th film, going all the way back to 2008 to tie into The Incredible Hulk. I thought that was kind of cool, you know. I liked it. So I hope we get more Harrison Ford, just because I would like to see him interact with Bruce Banner, even if it's not the Bruce Banner he acted with or something like that. I would. Clearly, they put him in the Raft to possibly bring him back later, and Harrison Ford isn't going anywhere. I don't know that we'll see Red Hulk teaming up with the Avengers, but I would be interested to see more Ross down the line. So
well, I've seen people being like, "Hey, there's an edited space here in this Thunderbolts trailer. Who's standing there?"
No, well, I
They're
will
named
be
the
intrigued.
Thunderbolts, so who knows?
That did crack me up in the new trailer when somebody said, "We're the Thunderbolts," and Bucky's like, "We can't call ourselves that," and U.S. agent was like, "Thank God, no." They cracked me up. So I wonder if they talk a little bit more about that. But that seems to hint towards this. So what did Bucky go through? How bad was his campaign?
I don't know.
He doesn't look great.
He can't catch a break even with that vibranium arm. Well, that does it for our Captain America: Brave New World review. Stay tuned to Victims and Villains here on YouTube for more from us at Brilliant But Lazy. We've got a lot of fun things planned for this year. Marvel's back in full swing between the movies and all the Marvel shows. We have yet to talk about What If Season 2. Have you been watching Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney+?
I have not. I've been busy packing. That's something that I look forward to binging when it's done, but I have not.
It's worth the binge. I got a late start on it, and I got caught up over the week. So
speaking of Severance, I heard he is one of the characters is in that as well. Zach Cherry.
Yeah, Zach Cherry shows up.
I love Zach Cherry.
Oh,
He's popped up in Spider-Man. I think he was in Homecoming. He was in Shang-Chi, and now he's in this. I just love how they just keep dropping him randomly in the MCU. Great.
But we have some DC content planned to come your way soon. We'll do a Severance review when the time comes. But until next time, for Brilliant But Lazy of Victim and Villains podcast, I am Alan.
I am Josh.
And in the words of Dr. Fraser Crane, wishing you good mental health.